All right, let's talk about the ESP32. It's this tiny, amazing powerhouse for any IoT project. But if you've ever tried to buy one, you know you hit this wall of confusing names, right? Node MCU, DevKit, Room. What does it all mean? Well, today we're going to clear all that up so you can get right to building.
And look, it's not just you. The person who wrote our source material said this, and it just hits the nail on the head. This is the exact feeling so many of us have had, just staring at a webpage full of parts, wondering, what am I even looking at?
If that sounds like you, then you are in exactly the right place. We are going to make this super simple once and for all.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. The first thing we need to tackle is what I call the ESP32's identity crisis. We need to figure out what that board sitting on your desk actually is. And the easiest way to do that is with a simple car analogy.
So first things first, you've got the ESP Room 32. The easiest way to think about this? It's the engine. It's that small silver metal box you see soldered onto the bigger circuit board. That's where all the magic is. The processor, the Wi-Fi, the memory, it's the core. But just like a car engine sitting on the floor, it's not very useful by itself.
Which brings us to the ESP32 DevKit, right? If the Room is the engine, the DevKit is basically the car's body. It's the circuit board that holds the engine and adds all the stuff we actually need to use it, like the USB port to program it, and most importantly, all those pins on the side that let us plug it into a breadboard. This is the car we're actually driving. And then there's Node MCU. Oh boy, this is where everyone gets tripped up. You see, Node MCU was a really popular name for an older board, the ESP8266. So when the ESP32 came out, manufacturers just kind of kept using that popular name. So if your board says Node MCU on it, for all intents and purposes, it's just a brand name for a DevKit. It's the same car, just with a different badge on the hood.
All right, so hopefully that clears up the naming mess. But there's another thing you probably noticed when you bought your board: the number of pins. Are you working with a 30-pin version or a 38-pin version? Let's break that down.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. The 30-pin board, it's nice and narrow. It slots right into a standard breadboard, and you still have a row of holes free on each side to plug in your jumper wires. Perfect. But the 38-pin version? Oh, it's a nightmare for beginners. It's so wide it covers the entire breadboard. There's nowhere to plug anything in. And the worst part is, those extra pins are almost always wired to the internal flash memory, so you can't even use them without crashing the board. More is definitely not better here. So look, the takeaway here is super simple. Stick with the 30-pin version. It's going to save you a massive headache, and pretty much every tutorial you find online is going to be using it anyway. Not sure which one you've got? Don't worry, it's actually really easy to check. Just grab your board right now. Count the pins down one of the long sides. If you get to 15, congrats, you've got the 30-pin board. If you count 19, then you have the wider 38-pin version. That's it. Okay, so you know what board you have. Now we get to what is honestly the most critical part of this whole thing. I like to call it the pinout minefield. Because on an ESP32, not all pins are created equal. And if you choose the wrong one, your project is going to be a world of frustration. And I am not exaggerating here. Picking the wrong pin can literally stop your project from even booting up. There are certain pins that have very special jobs when the board first turns on. If you've got a component hooked up to one of them, it can completely confuse the ESP32 and it just won't run your code. Nothing. This is probably the single most common question I see from beginners online. Hey, I hooked up this simple relay, my code is perfect, why won't my board start? And 9 times out of 10, the answer has nothing to do with the code or the relay, it's all about which pin they chose. But hey, don't worry, we're not just going to point out all the problems and leave you hanging. We're going to give you the map to get through it. Let's pull up your safe pin cheat sheet so you know exactly which pins to use and which ones to stay away from. Okay, this is your map. These are your go-to safe pins, the ones you should start with for every single project. For simple on-off things like LEDs or relays, GPIO 16 and 17 are fantastic. Need to control a servo motor? Pins 25, 26, and 27 are what you want. Reading a basic sensor? 32 and 33 are perfect. If you just stick to this list, especially at the beginning, you'll avoid so many problems. Now, on the flip side of that map, you've got the pins to avoid. These are called the strapping pins. Think of it like this. When the ESP32 wakes up, it looks at these 5 pins to get its instructions. Should I run the code or should I go into programming mode?
If you have a sensor or a relay connected, it might pull the pin high or low, giving the ESP32 the wrong instructions at boot. So just leave these alone.
And finally, there's one last special group you need to know about: the input-only pins. That's 34, 35, 36, and 39. These pins are great for reading data from a sensor, but they are physically incapable of sending voltage out. You can't use them to turn on an LED. Your code will work, you won't get any errors, but the light just won't turn on. It's a classic trap for beginners.
All right, I know that was a lot of information about pins, so let's boil it all down to one golden rule, a simple checklist you can run through every single time to make sure your projects work on the first try. So here it is, your 3-step checklist. Every single time you start a new project, just do this. 1, count your pins so you know if you have a 30 or 38 pin board. 2, when you pick your pins, start with that safe pin list we talked about. And 3, just do a quick final check to make sure you didn't accidentally use one of those 5 strapping pins. That's it. If you do that every time, you'll be golden.
So there you have it. We've demystified the names, we've mapped out the pin minefield, and we've given you a safe path. You know your board and you know the pins, so the only real question left is, what are you going to build first?